Good evening. I call to order the regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Burr Ridge for Monday, November 22nd, 2021. David, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, David. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Trustee Francis?
Here.
Trustee Schiappa?
Here.
Trustee Paveza?
Here.
Trustee Snyder?
Here.
Trustee Mattal? Trustee Smith?
Here.
Mayor Grasso?
Here. Trustee Mattal is out of the country. Let us know in advance. We have no presentations and no public hearings tonight. That takes us to the consent agenda. Before we go through it, at the request of Trustee Smith, we'll be removing 8C, and at my request, we'll be removing 8G. The consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so request, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda, discussed by the board, opened for public comment, and voted upon during this meeting. 5 minutes. A, approval of regular board meeting of November 8, 2021. B, receive and file Plan Commission meeting of December 15, 2021. 6, ordinances. B, approval of an ordinance establishing a temporary land use moratorium in the downtown business development district in the village of Burr Ridge. Z, 12, 2021, land use moratorium. 7, resolutions. B, approval of resolution approving final plat of subdivision, box subdivision. That takes us to 8, considerations. We've removed C, that will take us to D. Approval of a plan commission recommendation to approve a conditional wall sign at a non-residential lot, SO1, 2021, 7508 County Line Road guidepost. E, approval of a subdivision fence extension at Burr Ridge Estates. F, approval to direct the Plan Commission to hold a public hearing to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance regulating short-term residential rentals. H, approval of recommendation to appoint Commissioner Joe Petrick as Plan Commission Vice Chairperson for a one-year term expiring on December 31, 2022. And I, approval of vendor list dated November 22, 2021 in the amount of $504,295.96 for all funds, plus $355,946.68 for payroll for the periods ending October 30, and November 13, 2021 for a grand total of $860,242.64, which includes special expenditures of $25,823 to Kramer Tree Specialist for fall brush pickup. With that, can I get a motion to approve the following items on the consent agenda? 5A and B, 6B, 7B, 8, D, E, F, G, and H. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Schiappa?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, that's 5-0, motion passes. That takes us to 6, ordinances. Consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 43 entitled Purchasing Manual of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code. Evan?
Thank you. As stated, this is a proposed ordinance revising Chapter 43 of the Municipal Code, which is our village purchasing manual. The purchasing manual is the statutory established procedures, rules, and otherwise in which the village procures and pays for goods and services obtained. The purchasing manual in its current form dates back to 1989, has not been revised in any capacity since that time. really, the manual is outmoded compared to the needs of the modern municipality, such as the village. There are several ways in which the village executes certain payments, such as ACH, which is a very common payment method through banks. The use of credit cards, often, if you're out needing to purchase a meal at a restaurant through a business meeting, you're at Staples, you need something small at the hardware store, oftentimes a village credit card with predetermined purchase limits is used to procure those items. None of these items are actually addressed in the purchasing manual and need to be addressed. Additionally, there are other amendments centering on other points, including raising the purchasing authority of myself, the village administrator, and the village department heads up to $20,000 and $5,000 respectively, up from $5,000 and $200 respectively. It also creates a requirement that purchase order be created prior to a requisition. That is to say that an agreement, if an agreement is possible, that it be related first prior to a requisition, which is the request to encumber village finances. And again, it eliminates certain procedures which are no longer best practice or possible due to technological advancement. The first that we thought of was really that the department directors are actually responsible for reviewing all bills of lading when everything comes back to the village. So someone like Dave Preisiger or Chief Madden actually reviewing all the mail just isn't practical anymore, but it did used to work like that. And finally, it creates rules regarding purchases related to a village credit card and ACH, as well as strengthening the authority of the board and myself as the chief purchasing agent to impose additional purchasing requirements when needed. There's a number of analyses included in the summary, but I'm going to defer back to the mayor at this time for further discussion and questions.
Right, this is a continuation of what I've asked Evan to do now as village administrator, to look at things that, from a new perspective, see how we can streamline some things, bring things up to date. Here's a procedure that's existed since 1989. You saw in the comparison, most village administrators have the authority to spend $20,000. Of course, we'd still get to see the bills. We'd still know that that expenditure was being made, so there is a check and a balance, but it would bring us more into reality of what we're doing. With that, any questions from any of the trustees? Yes.
So, an expenditure of $19,999 will appear on the vendor list for the consent agenda, and there'll be no further special board action on that, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And that's part of the purpose. And of course, any person, that means any citizen or any trustee, could take that item off like any other item and ask the questions for which we'd expect Evan to be ready to give the answers. Yes.
So, number 20,000 came up, that's what was discussed. 'Cause I did a little bit of research just for information. So like Willowbrook, I think that he's got authority of 10,000, and their general fund is about 10 million, which is what we're at about. Burridge is 10,000. Western Springs is at about 12 million. Huh?
We're 5.
Our general fund?
I'm sorry, I thought you meant my purchasing authority. Never
Oh,
mind,
no.
I'm sorry.
Our
Right.
general fund is about 9 million.
Yes.
Westmont and Oakbrook, they're at 20 grand, but Westmont's about 28 million in their general fund, and Oakbrook's 24 million. So just I wanted to set, bring that up as information is. Do we go
Yeah,
to
I think
20? Do we
Hinsdale's
go to
about
10?
20. Also, Hinsdale's authority is about 20.
Their authority in Hinsdale is 20, but their general fund's probably about 15 to 20.
Right, closer.
LaGrange Park and Clarendon Hills have smaller general funds than us and are at 20 and 25.
And I don't see it as related, but,
Okay.
it could be, this is just efficiency.
And that's what I want. I do want efficiency.
And, the police vehicles or whatever it is, the same expenditures sometimes happen in this village as it might in a Westmont or Naperville for that matter, So we're just trying to make it more streamlined. Again,
Okay.
this would all still be out in the open, and if anybody wanted to ask questions about it, it's
Well, I
going to
still
be there.
believe that the checks and balances are in place.
Okay.
I mean, we still review all of that,
Mhm.
and that, I don't have an issue with that. And, between Evan's role and then the finance department and then us, there are multiple checks and balances, and that comes. But I just wanted to bring that information.
Helpful, thank you. Al?
Similar to Guy, when this was brought up, I had talked to Evan, I was a little leery about it too, but he said that it will show up as a separate item at the vendor list, and if we have any questions, we can then talk about it. So as long as it shows up as a separate item on the vendor list, I'm okay with it.
Okay, anybody else? All right, any public comment? All right, can I get a motion to approve the ordinance amending Chapter 43 entitled Purchasing Manual of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code?
So moved.
Second.
We have a movement, a second. Any further discussion by the board? Any further discussion by the public? Roll call, please.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes?
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes,
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. Takes us to 7 resolutions. A, consideration of a resolution determining the estimated property taxes to be levied for the 2021 tax year of the Village of Burr Ridge, Illinois. Evan?
Yes, briefly, this is a procedural item. This is the village satisfying its requirement purposes to estimate its property tax levy for the upcoming tax year. This is exactly as it was directed for staff to prepare at your last meeting. Again, this represents a 0.0% functional levy increase. The increases are solely related to new development which has come online in the village that did not exist 12 months ago, such as new homes, additions, and the like. This is directing staff to place the actual ordinance on the December 13th agenda for final consideration. Thank you.
Any questions of Evan? Yes.
Evan, could you please repeat that one point about 0.0%? So that it's crystal clear understanding for the residents about the property tax levy.
The board is not raising property taxes.
Thank you.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve the resolution determining the estimated property taxes to be levied for the 2021 tax year of the Village of Burr Ridge, Illinois, for 0.0%?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion by any members on the board?
Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Al?
at this time every year, I like to make the comment, in talking to residents, they all complain about their high tax bill. And I always tell them, what you get in Burr Ridge is only 1.5% to 2% of your tax bill. Double check it out. If you want to complain to a different department, because I think the board and the staff does a tremendous job. Your tax bill is going to be less than 2% towards Burr Ridge.
Yeah, thank you for making that point. Oftentimes, I too get the comment that property taxes are too high, and mine are certainly too high. I agree with that, but when you look at tax bills, and mine's no different when you look at the items, look at school boards, look at pensions, look at park districts, et cetera, and then you look at Burr Ridge, and as Trustee Paveza said, we're often 1%, maybe 1.5%, seldom even 2% of the tax bill. So thank you for making.
Just like to point out, this is your estimated levy. You're going to have your actual levy on your ordinance, on your agenda for your December meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, did we have a vote yet?
No, sir.
Okay, so with that, any further comment by the board? Any further comment by the public? Roll call, please.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes?
Trustee Paveza?
Yes,
5-0 passes.
5-0, that motion passes. Thank you. That takes us to 8 considerations. A, consideration of a plan commission recommendation to approve a request for a text amendment regarding the permitted height of residential attached garage doors. Z, 13-2021, zoning ordinance amendments. Chappelle.
Thank you, Mayor. As stated, this is Z13-2021, a recommendation from the Plan Commission to approve a request for a text amendment to Section 6 of the zoning ordinance to revise the permitted maximum overheight door on principal residential buildings, so the principal structure of a property, to a value of greater than 9 feet, in this case 10 feet, in our village. The primary purpose of the petitioner's request, petitioner is here tonight, petitioner had a personal vehicle that was 9.5 feet tall. Currently, the zoning ordinance limits the overhead height of garage doors to 9 feet. Petitioner, through no fault of their own, could not fit their personal vehicle inside their garage and asked for a text amendment rather than a variance. the Plan Commission made a recommendation in lieu of, in working with a previous Plan Commission recommendation regarding this exact subject to increase, to recommend that the board approve an increase from the attached garage door height to 10 feet. So again, going from 9 feet to 10 feet. That is limited to one garage door. So you have single doors and double doors. Single door is 10 feet in width or less. So again, if you have the single doors, it can only be on one 10-foot section of your garage. It cannot be the entirety of all your garages. This would be applied to all zoning districts in the village. So almost all residential properties would be eligible for this increase. Petitioners here tonight. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, as we always do, any question from any of the trustees first? None. Any questions from anybody in the public? None. Unless the petitioner wants to say something, and when it looks like the court of public opinion is in your favor, maybe saying nothing is the right thing to do. Yes, you can.
Is the microphone on?
Good evening.
Appreciate your attention to the matter. My wife and I own a Mercedes Sprinter, stands 9.5 feet tall. Rather park it in the garage than park it on the driveway, so that's the reason for it. So certainly appreciate
Yep, and that gives me the opportunity to do a little commercial, and that means also, of course, that you will take your key fob out of the car and put it in your house, right? And you will not leave your garage door open or the key fob in your car, right? And that's because in doing so, you prevent crime. Thank you. Great, thank you. Okay. Do I have a motion? Let's see, which number was that? 8A, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve a Plan Commission recommendation to approve a request for a text amendment regarding the permitted height of residential attached garage doors, Z 13/2021 zoning ordinance amendments?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion at the board level? Any comment? Yes, I'm sorry.
So back in 2007, when we reviewed this at the Plan Commission level, these vehicles didn't exist at that time. So I fully support this measure. These vehicles are quite common for use as recreational vehicles, which I'm assuming this is the intent of this vehicle, and becoming more and more mainstream as travel and pleasure vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other comment from the public? Roll call, please.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, that motion passes. 8B, consideration to create and fill the position of Community Development Director. Evan?
Thank you, Mayor. 1 second, please. All right, so as part of our continual analysis of our organizational chart, ability to deliver services to residents and otherwise respond to the needs of the community, I'm proposing that we create the position of Community Development Director within the Department of Public Works. We've had some turnover in the position regarding community development lately. We had Doug Pollock, who was serving as a part-time planner for several months as we transitioned administrations. Mr. Pollock resigned in the spring, and at that point, through the FY22 budget, I had recommended we establish the position of planner. So functionally, planner is considered an entry-level position in the community development world. So when we hired planner, we were hiring an entry development level person. We had proposed to pay this person around $60,000 to $65,000 a year annually. We received a lot of feedback from the hiring process that this was simply not high enough. Most of our candidates that we preferred were asking somewhere in the mid-80s, significantly higher than we could afford to pay or was thought to have value from myself and other staff members who were involved in the hiring process. $85,000 is actually above the top of the salary range of the planner position that you had approved through the budget. The top was $81,000, just for context. In July, I had proposed and the board had approved some reorganization, which include, but not limited to, the elimination of the role of planner. And the role was eliminated with the duties being assigned back to me for the simple purpose that there was not value in hiring a planner at $85,000. At least an entry-level person at that dollar amount was not seen to be of value to the village from a financial perspective. At this point, in July, I should say, the village since that time, I should say, the village, we've created a downtown business development district, proposed and now approved a land use moratorium. We are considering submitting a comprehensive plan update for the entire village, as well as other planning needs as may come up going forward. I am recommending that we reinstitute the position of Community Development Director in the village. Now, I want to explain why we're proposing to put this in the Public Works Department. Now, traditionally, the community development functions of the village has been its own department in the Community Development Department, or has been part of administration here in the front office. The reason why it is being proposed in the Public Works Department is for the simple fact that much of the development of the village already works through Public Works, through Dave Preissig. Dave is not only our Public Works Director, Dave is also our village engineer. Much of the development through the village requires engineering reviews and approvals to actually go forward. So tonight, as an example, you approved a very small 2-lot subdivision at the back subdivision over on Grant Street. The majority of all subdivisions like that actually require engineering approval to actually go forward. And so because of that, we're proposing that all the development and planning be a part of a single department in the village. I'm not proposing that we bifurcate it between 2 departments of the like. I feel like that if this position, as part of a newly created development division within Public Works, would create not only streamlined efficiencies between the Public Works Department and the Development Division, really anybody who's needing any sort of planning, zoning, permitting work and the like, but this position would actually also relieve some pressure on Dave Preissig in his position as Public Works Director. This position would help a lot in the roles of planning, zoning, and engineering that Dave currently oversees, or is somehow responsible for, at least in part, and it would help centralize a lot of those issues within Development Division. So again, this would be a help to Dave, not only to really take the pressure off of him from a development perspective, but also an engineering perspective. The Development Director would oversee 4 existing staff members. Again, we're only adding 1 staff member through this proposal. The other 4 are existing positions. 3 report to me currently, 1 reports to Dave Preissig currently. These employees would all work out of Village Hall for ease of public service. Again, we've got the window here. Right now, the residents generally only come to Village Hall unless they have a police question. All the village phones are also routed through Village Hall, except that they have an emergency issue or something related to police records. So again, I know that's a different way that we've done community development in the past, but functionally speaking, we think it has a lot of benefits. Staff's very excited about the possibility of streamlining all these services through one single department. Again, I've proposed a salary range of 112. As noted here, there's only one other position that's only present in that salary range, and I would be requesting the authority to hire that position immediately. I'll be here for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Evan. First of all, of course, the board, any questions? Yes, Joe?
Evan, I like the fact that you and Mr. Dave Preissig continue to streamline the operation. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this will also take a little load off of Evan, too. He didn't say that, but this will take some load off of him, too. Part of, again, right after we took the interim tag off him, or acting tag off him, I expressed to him what the board had said publicly, too, and that was the concern of how thin we were spreading Evan, and that as we're getting into the budget cycle, this would be the time to propose a position so that we could deal with it when we come up for budget time too. And I like the concept of dealing with the reality, and that is, the reality is that development goes through Public Works, and our engineer is also our Public Works Department chairman, so it seems appropriate to me. So, yes, Al?
I was very doubtful about the addition of such a large salary in a man, but after going over with Evan the major projects that he could see coming up in the near future, I sort of brought my objection down.
Thank you. And we will be having, of course, the TCF building property, which, by the way, the broker has gotten back to us and is looking to actively sell that land, and we have some thoughts there. We will be bringing them to you when we have more clarity about that. But that is the key to tying the 2 properties, in my mind, together, along with dealing with the Pace property, which also should be in play once we do a major development. And so that is going to be something that's going to require a planner, an engineer, and all the talents of our village staff and this board and the Plan Commission to tie the Village Center and County Line Square together. So that's coming also. I'm also privy to some knowledge that there's other large parcels about to come on for sale and development in Burr Ridge. More of the same. We will need the talent and the dedicated staff time for it. Yes?
How quickly do you think you can fill the role?
I couldn't give you a guess on number of weeks. I mean, obviously, we're entering the Thanksgiving and holiday season. I don't want to rush it, of course. But in hiring anything I do, I want to leave as much time as possible. So that's why I'm asking for it today.
Okay. No other questions by any board? Any questions from anybody in the public? All right, with that, can I get a motion to approve creation and filling the position of Community Development Director, consistent with the packet information?
So moved.
Good.
And a movement and a second. Any further comment by the board? Any comment by the public? Roll call, please.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes?
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. That takes us to 8C at the request of Trustee Smith. We removed this from the consent agenda. This is approval of a master purchase agreement with Axon Enterprises of Scottsdale, Arizona for police body worn and fleet cameras, as well as tasers in the amount of $375,992. Just so the public understands, this was on the consent agenda because it was discussed at length at our last meeting, and true to form, we usually put for approval at the next meeting such items on the consent agenda. But that doesn't mean they can't be removed by a trustee or a citizen for full discussion at this meeting, and that's what Trustee Smith has requested. Trustee Smith.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions, and first, I guess, a comment. Thank you to the staff for a lot of work done on this, on 8C for me today. I do appreciate the input. There's a couple of items, though, that I do have a question on. I think page 58, I believe it's still, or the invoice date shows November. And I just want to get clarity. Are we paying invoices in November and December for this, or is this just a typo?
I think this is a quote date. There's also additional, if I can be permitted just to run through this real quick. Yeah, as you can see, there's other dates here. Contract start 5/1/22. There's other elements of the contract where, I'll just note it here, term, all subscriptions including, et cetera. Plans begin after the shipment date of the Axon device. This appears in both sections of the contract. So we interpret this to mean that the payments do not start until all the merchandise has been received, which again, based on our understanding of the supply chain projection through Axon, is April 2022 at this point.
Okay, good. And then on page 66, this may just be mathematical errors, but the extension pricing is off. And right there in the top line, it shows quantity of 20 times the unit price of $13.27. I hope that doesn't equal $15,919. We're all in trouble.
No, that doesn't seem right.
But there's quite a few of those extension errors throughout the contract. If you could just at least have someone, just double check that to make sure that all the numbers add up.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Since it was pulled off the consent agenda, anybody else have any questions at the board level? Any questions from the public? With that, can I get a motion to approve a master purchase agreement with Axon Enterprises of Scottsdale, Arizona for police body-worn and fleet cameras as well as tasers in the amount of $375,992?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further comment by the board? Any from the public? Roll call, please.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Was it Trustee Skiappa who seconded?
Trustee.
Trustee Francis?
Yes?
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
5-0.
5-0, the motion passes. That also gives me the opportunity to remind the public and the board that usually there's no matter that's on an agenda that is so important that someone feel that they have to vote on something without getting full information. If at any time, of course, it's always been my policy, it's always been the policy of other village presidents and mayors and all the trustees, that if indeed a trustee or trustees need more information before we have a vote, always consider tabling it because we'd rather the informed vote. Sometimes there's an emergency, but that isn't often. And so if any of you feel that you need more information, of course, you know it's part of your job to get that information. So don't ever hesitate to ask for something to be tabled. We can always find the time to give you the proper information. Thank you. That will take us then to 8G, which I asked to be pulled off. This is approval of the 2022 Village Board meeting schedule. Normally, this is just routine, just the way it is, because our schedules are our schedules. But this is giving me the opportunity to open up something I want to explore coming forward, and that is there are villages that use workshops, have a meeting once a month for a workshop, and then have a formal meeting. You'd still have 2 meetings a month. You'd still do all the required work, but one we might maybe front load all the work every month into maybe the first meeting in the second Monday of the month, and then have more of a consent agenda type, smaller agenda for the second meeting. It would be intended to try to streamline some of these issues and not have the same meeting twice a month all the time. So it might be something that I'm going to be throwing out. We'll try it here and we'll try it there to see if you like it, if the public likes it. I know it's done in some other villages. I think maybe Western Springs has done it back when I used to live there in the 80s and 90s. It could be very efficient for a village such as ours that should have rather smaller agendas, and we might be able to get all of our work done in the beginning of the month, basically have a consent agenda for the second meeting. Of course, if any resident or anybody wanted to discuss something, we'd have a full agenda published, and they could always come in and discuss something. So that's why I took it off. You're probably going to see me ask you to try a workshop every now and then, and that's the reason. It's just to see if you like it, and if you don't like it, we don't do it. If you do like it, and the public likes it, that's more important. If the public likes it, then we might try it and see if we could save us all some time every month, okay? With that, can I get a motion to approve the 2022 Village Board meeting schedule?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. All right, that takes us to 9, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any subject? You have up to 5 minutes to address the board. Is there any public comment? No public comment. That takes us to 10, reports and communications from village officials. Trustees? Yes.
So, I've been noticing, been getting emails about FOIA requests that really don't pertain to our business here in the village. They're coming from one person, and I feel that that one person is driving up costs for our village and wasting time for our staff members in this village, where we've already talked about earlier how lean of an operation we're running, and we can't be spending that money or time on these wasteful requests of our village. I understand that there are FOIA requests that are merited, and I'm open to those, and I want to make, those have to get fulfilled. All of them have to get fulfilled, but these repeated, nonsensical FOIA requests are getting out of hand, and something needs to be done about it. And I wanted to ask Evan, I mean, we know who this person is that continually are asking these for FOIA requests. How much money have we spent, time and resources? Can you quantify what that number is to date?
Yes. Yes, sorry. Since this person's first FOIA request a few years ago, we spent over $31,000 on legal fees, as the person has threatened legal litigation against the village. And as a result, we work with our village attorney to ensure that our responses are accurate to the extent that the law requires. We've also spent over 500 hours of staff time, which while we already pay for,
500?
500 hours of staff time at $55 an hour, which I'm admittedly being conservative on.
Yes.
Is that high or low conservative?
I would say that's probably a little bit low, but again, I just want to make sure that I'm being conservative.
Okay.
That's $23,000 worth of staff time at $55 an hour. That's a combination of IT services, front office staff time, my staff time. So that's a combination average. That's why I'm saying it's hard to quantify exactly.
I
I'm
understand.
trying to use an algorithm, if you will,
Right.
to understand how much staff cost has gone into filling these. So purely from a legal and staff perspective, $54,000 since this person's first FOIA request.
Okay. Is there a way for us to disclose that information from that one requester on our website showing this meter of money that's being spent? Taxpayer dollars that's being spent for these ridiculous FOIA requests that keep coming in?
Many towns have instituted a policy on their website, which we're in the process of actually restructuring ours with a new product. We actually saw a very brief preview today. They do disclose all FOIAs and the nature of those FOIAs on their website. I have not seen any particular town disclose a single person's FOIAs only. However, I do know of many towns who disclose all of their FOIAs, the date of the request, the subject of the request, date fulfilled, and general matters therein. So yes, that could be looked into on the staff level, yes.
In regards to what Trustee Chapman said, it appears from what I've seen, has there been any FOIA requests over the last 2-3 years except from this one person?
Oh yes, we get many FOIAs. We get FOIAs about building permits, but none rise to the level of this specific account.
And the building permit type of FOIA is kind of a customary thing that people ask for, just to see what's happened in the past, see if they're consistent or if they want to change something. That's kind of a thing that happens not infrequently in all villages. But what I think Trustee Schiappa's, I mean, we all know who the person is, and we know that these are not the usual and customary things.
No.
They are just repetitive oftentimes. I get requests from the lawyers to make sure we have reviewed everything. Of course, because of the nature of this person and his requests, we do review everything. So we could probably list, we're going to list the FOIA requests, we can list that one person's request, I would think. Let's at least look into that.
Right.
That's creative. I think the village should know how much time, 500 hours. And you know, that kind of money in a relatively small village for, and the person has the right to make all the FOIA requests that they can, but I think maybe the village residents would like to know what some of their staff time and what their legal fees and what other resources of this village are going to, rather than providing the residents services. So, yes.
It bothers me in a way that we are lean and mean as a staff, and 500 hours is 500 hours taken away from other responsibilities and duties, serving other residents. And this is important to me, that staff time is being concentrated on some of these FOIA requests that may be frivolous in nature. So it bothers me. So I think the residents need to know. So we need to be tracking these FOIA requests on our website like other towns and villages do. All FOIA requests.
Interesting suggestion, thank
We're
you.
tasked up here to represent the residents, to be fiscally responsible, provide safety to our residents, and provide services.
Right.
This person is tackling two of those. He's pulling services away from our residents and spending the taxpayer dollars. So something needs to be done.
And I just want to be, and we should be able to put his name, I mean, it's public information, just like can we put the names there?
Yes, as Evan pointed out, a number of municipalities publish monthly who the requesters are, but it's not singling out one person. But that way, if this person is a repeat requester, the public will understand that because they'll see the frequency of the requests. So,
And I'd like to see if we can put that amount of money next to that person's name too, so if that's allowed. Okay, interesting suggestion. Thank you very much. All right, yes, Russ?
Well, we have to give a shout out to our community engagement analyst for this past Friday's Deck to Green outing. It was well attended, huge number of families there. Yes, it was a little cold, but it was a great event, great weather. So she did a fantastic job.
Yes.
Under budget.
Under budget? There you go. That would be Hannah, by the way. Yeah, and that was, are you done?
Yep.
Okay, and that was my number one topic for tonight, and I give my closing statements tonight. Yeah, again, I'll do the same thing. It was a great event. It was a bit cold, but the kids, the important thing is kids were out there, and the important thing was that it was a sense of normalcy. People wanting to get out, wanting to enjoy themselves, and it was a bit cold. The train, I don't know if anybody saw that, but that train was neat. I know my grandsons loved that. And there was a relatively long line. Did you see the line?
Sponsored by a trustee.
Trustee Smith, yes, thank you. And I think that's going to be a regular. Next year, by the way, we're going to get a tree, right, Evan? We're going to get back to getting a tree?
We'll look into it.
Okay. And maybe a tree lighting ceremony, but it'd be nice to have a Christmas tree at Christmas time. But that we didn't do that last year. It's time to get back to doing things normal. So that's one. And with that in mind, a special thanks to McFarland Douglas, our own Burr Ridge company, and our Public Works Department, again, for the beautiful decorations and lights on the I-55 bridge and along County Line Road. It was so bright and beautiful, the council knew exactly where to get off on his way to the meeting tonight.
yes, I did.
And I do. I get comments, emails from people outside of Burr Ridge saying, "Oh, that's Burr Ridge. Yeah, they're doing their bridge." So, congratulations again to McFarland Douglas for that hard work. The Chicago Region Trees Initiative, in conjunction with the Cook County Forest Preserve, is hosting a fun and interactive event to learn about invasive tree species. The event will take place on Saturday, December 11th from noon until 3 p.m. at the Pioneer Woods Picnic Grove in Willow Springs. Please visit the Chicago Region Tree Initiative website for more information to register. And I think there was some statistic that something like 45% of the trees that are around here are not indigenous to our area. They're invasive, brought in from elsewhere. I think that's part of what we're going to get educated on. The village is also seeking volunteers to serve on our various committees and commissions. These committees and commissions are vital to the mission of the community. Please submit a volunteer questionnaire and your resume to the Village Hall if you're interested, and go to our website if you need more information. On behalf of the Village Board and the staff, I want to wish you and your families a very happy Thanksgiving. Again, back to normalcy, back to enjoying our lives, to be thankful for. Please take a moment to reflect during Thanksgiving Day on all the gifts that we have living in a very special place that we call Burr Ridge. A couple of facts about Thanksgiving. Of course, most of you know the first Thanksgiving was celebrated in November of 1621, and it was a 3-day festival. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln declared Thanksgiving a national holiday. In 1939, in the midst of the Great Depression, President Franklin Roosevelt, moved Thanksgiving up 1 week in order to give the retailers more time for Christmas shopping. It just shows you what the president was thinking back then. And then it was changed right after that back to the fourth Thursday. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn to December 13, 2021 at 7 p.m. and everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.